Good evening. Welcome to Autism to Artism, a view of creativity. I am Trey Olds. Thank you for joining us today. My special guest is Mr. Tyler McNamer. He has autism, like me, and probably some of my listeners has autism. He has also written a book called Population 1, and today he's going to describe the process of his book, what the book is about, and his daily life. Thank you, and join us in a minute. Okay, my first question is, how did you find out you had autism? How old were you when you got that diagnosis?
Well, I found out that I had autism when I was about 13 years old. I was only diagnosed when I was 5 years old. My mom kind of said that there's something a little bit off, so that's why we gotta do some tests and had to, do something with that. My dad thought everything was going to be fine, but my mom kind of just said, "Now we gotta make sure he's properly diagnosed and get the help that we need." I didn't know about the whole autism thing until I was 13, and the reason why we waited for that long was because to us it wasn't really quite, that big of a deal kind of thing to kind of just mention it. They only just saw me as just their kid, and even the teachers just saw me as their student. So that's why it took me a long time to figure that out. And especially when you're 13 years old and wait that long, you can just get all that energy out. The hormones, testosterone's all that kind of stuff. So that's why we waited until I was 13. And that's the story of that.
Yeah. I have high-functioning autism, and I was diagnosed when I was 3.
Really? Wow, that's pretty early. That's really good. The earlier the better, as they say. I mean, that's what they told me anyway.
Well, yeah, that is true, because the earlier you find out what's going on, the more they can work with you.
Yeah, the more assistance they can get, proper assistance, that's for sure. But yep, for you it's 3. For me it was 5. But as long as things work with the assistance part, then that's all that really matters.
Yeah.
Yeah, that's a really good question. Gets me thinking.
Me too. I ask the questions, and the questions I say gets me thinking too.
Isn't that the beauty of it, really? even when I'm alone, I ask myself questions and try to answer them to the best of my abilities.
Me too. I'm a quick thinker. I think a lot.
Oh yes, isn't that interesting though too? It's even the movie director Wes Anderson. He has this little way of talking. To me, it feels like his thinking process is moving quicker than his mouth is when you see him giving his interviews and all that kind of stuff. That's what I've noticed. But I can't really speak for Wes when I say that.
Yeah. Well, I find it with everybody with autism. Well, in my experience, for me personally, we have a strong creativity trait in us, people with autism.
That's for sure. Creativity. I'm glad you brought that up too, because oftentimes it's always kind of fun to just create things, using your head and trying to, what am I trying to say? Trying to express without the use of words, kind of thing too. Verbally. That's for me. It was the book, and currently it's also another thing. It happens to be the video making for the fun of it. That is.
Well, we'll get to that in your book. How did you? Well, let's start with your book. How did you come up with the process for your book?
All right, the process of the book. How did I come up with the process? Well, it's pretty much easier said than done. When I just sat at my desk and just stared at my notebook. I used to carry a notebook around me when I write a bunch of stuff, and I just sat there, just stared at, and then after 2 hours of staring at, the thinking just bleeds right onto the paper, the ideas kind of thing. And it's either said than done. So that's like the first part. I wasn't really quite thinking about, actually getting published. I just wanted to write what was on my mind. That's basically the first part of it. Is just writing freely. It doesn't have to make sense. It doesn't have to look professional. All that kind of stuff. Because to be honest, when I go back and reading my book again, it doesn't feel very professional. It feels like a teenager wrote this thing, and that's pretty much all there is to it. And I always like to support all the aspiring writers out there. Is that you only win when you get started, and you become a champion when you keep on going until you get it all finished. You'll know when you finish your work. That's the thing about writing, or even just doing like other things too with projects, is that you'll know when you're done, and it's a journey, it's an adventure kind of thing. So yeah, I mean that's just the first process, but I can share a little bit more on like the literal process of how a book is being made if you want.
Sure. Yeah.
Sure. All right. So that's the first part, is getting it all right. That's the only hard part about writing a book. Mm-hmm. The other stuff is I would say pretty easy. Surprisingly easy, but it does require some time though too. So it's the writing, and the next part is the editing. You have to do like first draft and the second draft and all that kind of thing. It's kind of like editing. It's kind of like adding layers to color and painting, which is kind of like the thing with the whole editing drafts and all that kind of stuff. So after the whole editing process, we go through this thing known as the cover artist or the cover designer, where we kind of just sit down, have some coffee, and then we just have a talk about some ideas for the cover. So after that cover is being done, then we would go on to the printing process as well. And of course, I had a lot of help with this too, not just with my dad, but also a publishing coach I had. His name is Patrick Snow. I used to go to high school with his son Jacob, and he kind of helped me how to self-publish your book. The reason why we have publishing coaches is because a lot of times people who look for a publisher, they're usually there tend to be some frauds here and there too. So that's why we've got to be extra careful. So that's why I had the publishing coach. So he helps me with that. So, and then with the printing and all that kind of stuff, we learn how to celebrate and learn how to advertise the book as well. But I let my dad kind of do the advertisement for me. I honestly don't know how that entirely works. But yeah, that's pretty much all there is to it with the book. So I always like to say that anybody can make a book. Everyone has a book inside them. Just if they feel like it, they can just write it down and it become a possibility. I do believe that too. And can't really say if this is going to be easy, but I always kind of wanted to do a published book that doesn't really have anything to do with autism, but just more like for the fun of it, that kind of thing. No business related, but I've always wanted to do that kind of stuff. I guess what I'm trying to say is I kind of want to have my own little publishing company. I thought it would be kind of nice, not improve, but what's the term? Read more. Promote reading. That's what I'm trying to say.
Yeah, keep reading.
So yeah, sorry, that's a lot to take in, but once you understand the whole process, it's kind of easy to know how the order goes.
Yeah, you're right. Anyone can write a book. One person's life is a story. Your whole life is a book to be written.
Absolutely, and it's an adventure. That's all there is to it, really.
I've never written a book. I've been doing radio for 6 years, and I share my life on radio with my radio show.
It's a pretty neat accomplishment. I've always liked the radio too. I used to. I think it was twice I did that when I was at public radio, and that stuff is really fun. It's really neat, the environment and just seeing the on-air kind of thing, and literally you're just talking to someone else, not knowing that there's other people watching. But I'm like, I don't mind. It's really fun. I like the radio.
Yeah, I do too. I didn't choose it. It kind of chose me because I'm a talker. I like to talk, but
That's good.
But for a long time, I was shy, very shy, but I had to grow out of that. And with radio and entertainment, I kind of found that growth.
Yeah, that's really great. I mean, it really is, because talking itself is such a skill, and I was just known as the silent protagonist for such a long time, and it took a lot of practice to get that skill up and going.
Yeah. Yeah, people with autism, their voice, you have a voice, your voice needs to be heard. That's the most important part.
Absolutely. And not just verbally, but whatever kind of communication that you can think of, whether it be radio, which of course you kind of have verbal communication, but also with other art forms out there and stuff. Honestly, I wish I should have started the whole video gig a long time ago. That would have been a lot easier. But I didn't really. But I was cheap, and editing software is it's like hundreds of dollars and all that kind of stuff. That's the way I think, because I'm just cheap like that.
I understand. I'm like that too.
But yeah, no, it's really nice. I've seen a lot of nonverbal people with autism. They're really spectacular. Just full of thoughts, full of insights. Always feel like I just want to dig deeper into their minds, figuratively and literally. That was a joke.
Yeah, I get it.
Yeah, that's the way we think here at the McNamer.
Well, it's good to joke like that. You have to be clever.
Yeah, absolutely. For a while, I used to say something that I didn't think it was a joke. People laughed anyway, and I didn't really quite get it. That was actually, in fact, mind if I tell you this story real quick? It's really,
sure,
really quite fascinating. Yeah, so telling a joke accidentally, you think it was a joke. So a while ago, I was at a speaking engagement or this keynote event where I was invited by the tribe here in Washington, and they got the chief and teachers in there and all that kind of stuff. It was a pleasure. I didn't want to screw this up, kind of thing. And we had this questions and answers segments, and one of the people that asked me questions, she asked, "What do you collect? What do you like to collect?" And I simply answered, without really quite thinking it through, I just answered $100 bills.
Oh, no.
And people started laughing, laughing just so hard, and I didn't really quite understand why they were laughing so hard, because to me, I think $100 bills, you don't really see them every so often, and I thought they were kind of a nice thing to collect since you don't really see them often. But then after I understand the joke, I felt really bad thinking that oh no, people might think I'm greedy or something like that. But that's the thing. I even mentioned too in some areas where even if you say something and people think it's funny, not a lot of people that are intentions have that intention to be funny. It just kind of happens, and once they understand the joke that they unintentionally told, then it becomes kind of fun and just learn a bit about themselves at the process. And it's like, oh my goodness, I didn't know I can be unintentionally funny.
Yeah,
that's all there is to it. It's kind of nice to explore that in a way.
Yeah, it's interesting and very clever. Because I'm like you, I don't think I'm funny at first. I'm trying not to get a joke. I don't think I'm funny, but if I say something, people find it funny, and I'm like, what are they laughing at? I didn't say anything.
Yeah, you and me both, Trey. Yeah, I get you. I totally get it. Oh, that's funny.
Okay, well, let's talk about your video gig. Can you tell us about that? Your video.
Sure, my video stuff. Do you want to hear the business or pleasure? Which one?
I guess the pleasure. Why do you enjoy it?
Oh, sure, yeah. So I started doing the whole video gig last year. That's a very long time. And so the thing is about the video stuff is I don't really like to make a lot of profit from it. I just kind of do it for fun.
Yeah.
It's more of a hobby kind of thing too. And you know, I didn't know that say you can like make money off of it or something like that. As my